A very good morning. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. I'm Rastogi with breakfast news. Let's begin the bulletin with the top headlines of this morning. Assembly elections for 68 seats in Himachal Pradesh on November 9, counting on December 18. Gujarat dates to be announced later. President emphasizes on building new India in address at Governors' Conference. Prime Minister says governors can become catalysts for change. Reforms undertaken by Prime Minister Narendra Modi significant, says World Bank, adds results would reflect in mid and long-term figures. United States withdraws from UN cultural body UNESCO, citing anti-Israel bias. Israel also to withdraw. UNESCO regrets US move. And third T20 international between India and Australia in Hyderabad today. Series tied at 1-1. Assembly elections for the 68 seats in Himachal Pradesh will take place on November 9th in a single phase. This was announced by the Chief Election Commissioner A.K. Jyoti on Thursday. Counting for the votes will be held on December 18th. VVPAT machines will be used in all 7,521 polling booths, in which over 49 lakh electors will cast their votes. With the Election Commission's announcement, the Election Code of Conduct has come into immediate effect in the state as well as for the union government in matters related to the state. Chief Election Commissioner also said that polls in Gujarat will be held before December 18th so that results of Himachal Pradesh have no impact on them. Dates of elections in Gujarat will be declared later.
Date of issue of gazette notification is 16th October, Monday. And next one is last date of filing of nominations is 23rd October 2017, which is again Monday. Date for scrutiny of nominations will be 24th October 2017. Last date for withdrawal of candidature is 26th October 2017. The date of polling would be 9th November 2017, Thursday. And the date of counting of the polling result would be on 18th December 2017, that is Monday.
India's retail inflation cooled to 3.28% in September as food prices continue to remain soft for the month. Meanwhile, bringing some cheer to the economy, the factory output expanded to 9-month high of 4.3% in August. Here are the details.
Retail inflation measured by the Consumer Price Index for September slipped to 3.28% as against 3.36% in August. The CPI food inflation fell to 1.25% in September from 1.52% in August. CPI rural inflation went down from 3.22% in August to 3.15% in September, while urban inflation went up from 3.35% in August to 3.44% in September. Industrial production, which grew at just 1.2% in July on account of a dismal show by the manufacturing sector, made a remarkable comeback to touch 4.3%. Mining sector grew 9.4% in August as compared to 4.8% in July, while manufacturing grew 3.1% compared to 0.1% in the previous month. The electricity sector also rose 8.3% compared to 6.5% in August. At its monetary policy review meet last week, the Reserve Bank kept the repo rate unchanged to 6%. The central bank kept the policy stance neutral with the objective of limiting inflation at 4% within a band of plus or minus 2% while supporting growth. The lower inflation may now put pressure on the RBI to cut rates in its next monetary policy meet. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
The World Bank chief Yong has applauded Prime Minister Narendra Modi's effort to rebuild the economy. The World Bank chief added that the results would be reflected in the mid and long-term growth figures. This comes days after the global lender forecast that India's GDP may slow down to 7% in 2017 due to disruptions by demonetization and the GST. Last week, the World Bank chief has said that the recent slowdown in India's economic growth is a short-term and an aberration. The World Bank chief also said that GST would be very good for India's growth, but there is slight delay as companies are waiting before making investment. He added that the slowdown is temporary. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley is on a week-long visit to the US to attend the annual meetings of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. Today, he is scheduled to participate in the annual meetings, plenary, G20 finance ministers and central bank governors meeting, among others. He will participate in the finance ministers meeting with multilateral development banks. Arun Jaitley is also likely to hold separate bilateral meetings with the Italian Minister for Economy and Finance and the Iranian Minister for Economy and Finance, respectively. Later in the evening, Arun Jaitley will participate in a special event to be hosted by US-India Strategic Partnership Forum, followed by dinner hosted by the Indian ambassador in the US. Gautam H. Bambavle has been appointed as the next ambassador to the People's Republic of China by the centre. He is presently High Commissioner of India to Pakistan. A 1984 India Foreign Service officer, Bambavle is expected to take up the assignment shortly. He will replace Vijay Gokhale, a skilled hand in Sino-India relations. Bambavle opted to learn Mandarin Chinese as his foreign language and served in Hong Kong and Beijing between 1985 and 1991. He was first the desk officer for China in the Ministry of External Affairs and has also functioned as the Deputy Chief of Mission of the Indian Embassy in Beijing. His appointment comes at a time when India and China are trying to put behind the Doklam standoff and work on a forward-looking approach in their ties. And a 50-member delegation of Myanmar-based diplomats, including Indian Ambassador Vikram Misri, have visited the Rakhine state on October 2nd. According to the External Affairs Ministry, the visit has been done on the invitation of the government of Myanmar. Over thousands of Rohingya Muslims have fled after incidents of violence from the restive state of Rakhine. However, the details regarding the visit and subsequent observations are not yet known. India, in a statement last month, had expressed deep concern over the developments in Rakhine state and had urged the situation should be handled with restraint and maturity on the welfare of the civilian population along with those of the security forces. And with that, time for a very short break. More news and updates on the other side. Stay with us.
The world today is talking about reactive nitrogen becoming a pollutant. Even though it's a nutrient in our food production system, can become a pollutant if it is in a drinking water source. Sewage becomes the second largest contribution and the fastest growing contributor to reactive nitrogen load. The amount of ammonia, urea, nitrogen that is lost through domestic sewage, if that can be recycled back into crops, you can cut down the fertilizer by as much as 40%.
Watch Eureka with Professor N. Raghuram, Dean at School of Biotechnology, GGS Indraprasth University, Dwarka, only on Rajya Sabha television.
The Nehru Trophy boat race of Kerala, popularly called Vallam Kali in local parlance. This historic boat race dates back to 1952 when Pandit Nehru visited the state and a pageantry of boats accompanied him from Kottayam to Alappuzha. The race, conducted on the second Saturday of August every year, is a major tourist attraction. It's generally the snake boats which participate in the race, and hence the shape of the winner's trophy is also a replica of a snake boat.
Welcome back. Chief Justice of India Deepak Mishra has emphasized that when hopes and aspirations are crucified, human rights issues spring up. He said this while asserting that the country should lay emphasis on the rights of the disabled and underprivileged. Delivering a speech at the 25th Foundation Day of the National Human Rights Commission, the CJI quoted from ancient Indian texts, American history and old court cases to underline the message of equality and justice. He also quoted from Vedas, Kautilya's Arthashastra and other texts. Retired Justice H.L. Dattu, the chairperson of the NHRC, in his opening address said, by adopting human rights as a way of life, a fundamental change can be brought about to eradicate the scourge of poverty, ignorance, prejudices and discrimination based on sex, caste, religion, disability and other forms in the society.
Spreading of awareness of rights is a first stage, and that is what fundamentally the Human Rights Commission galvanizes. It tells you that this is your human right, makes you aware. Unless you are aware of your rights, the campaign of human rights is lost.
The Allahabad High Court has acquitted Rajesh and Nupur Talwar of killing their daughter Arushi and domestic help Hemraj in 2008. The High Court overturned a 2000 trial court ruling giving Talwars the benefit of doubt. The couple were awarded life sentence by the special CBI court in Ghaziabad on November 26, 2013. The Talwars are likely to be released from jail today.
The Allahabad High Court on Thursday pronounced both Rajesh and Nupur Talwar not guilty in the double murder case of their teenage daughter Arushi and their domestic help Hemraj in 2008. The court also ordered their immediate release. The court said the evidence against Arushi's parents was circumstantial. It also added that the CBI failed to prove beyond reasonable doubt that the Talwars killed Arushi and Hemraj. The court cited various shortcomings in the lower court's judgment in its verdict. The Talwars were also acquitted of the charge of destruction of evidence with common intent.
हमारे क्लाइंट्स को ऑनरेबल डिवीजन बेंच ने बरी किया है। जो इल्जामात लगाए गए थे वो गलत पाए गए हैं, बेबुनियाद पाए गए हैं। ट्रायल कोर्ट के जजमेंट को सरासर खारिज कर दिया गया है और हमारे दोनों क्लाइंट्स जो है बरी हुए हैं। हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि कल दोपहर में वो जेल से बाहर आएंगे।
उनको भी जानकारी समाचार माध्यमों से उनको भी जानकारी मिल चुकी है कि उनको माननीय उच्च न्यायालय के द्वारा बरी कर दिया गया है और उनमें अब जो है बिल्कुल वो लोग खुश हैं, संतुष्ट हैं। उनका कहना है कि भाई हमको अब इंसाफ मिला।
Meanwhile, the counsel of Rajkumar, the domestic help in Talwar's house, said they will take the matter to the Supreme Court.
अभी हाई कोर्ट का फैसला है, आगे भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट भी बाकी है, तो इसमें चूंकि ये मामला बड़ा ही हाईलाइट मामला है और इसमें अगर हाई कोर्ट ने फैसला सुनाया है तो निश्चित रूप से हाई कोर्ट के फैसले के खिलाफ इस मामले में सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाया जाएगा, क्योंकि लड़ाई गरीबों की है। गरीबों को न्याय मिले उन पर किसी, क्योंकि इसमें केवल आरुषि की हत्या नहीं हुई है। मैं बताना चाहूंगा इसमें हेमराज का मर्डर हुआ था और हेमराज की फैमिली बहुत ही पुअर फैमिली है।
A special CBI court sentenced the couple to life imprisonment in Ghaziabad in November 2013. Arushi was found dead inside her room in the Talwars Noida residence with her throat slit in May 2008. The body of Hemraj, who was the domestic help of the family, was found the next day on the terrace. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
And in the latest of the ceasefire violations from the Pakistan, an army jawan and a porter have been killed and 6 others injured on Thursday when Pakistani troops fired on forward areas along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir's Poonch district. The Pakistan Army initiated unprovoked and indiscriminate firing of small arms and automatics on Thursday morning. The Indian Army retaliated strongly and effectively. According to the officials, during the firing, Sepoy T.K. Reddy and defence porter Mohammad Zahir suffered serious injuries and died.
जिस प्रकार की उसकी आइसोलेशन हुई है डिप्लोमेटिकली और जिस तरीके से उसको टेररिज्म के ऊपर घेरा जा रहा है, चाहे वो चाइना है, चाहे वो इस्लामिक देश हैं जिनके कंधे पर वो सवार होता था, इस्लामिक देशों का जो है वो बनता लीडर बनता था, तो उसके मुताबिक जिस तरीके का पूरी वर्ल्ड कम्युनिटी का एक प्रेशर है, उसके कारण पाकिस्तान जो है और अंदर की उसकी टूटन है, जिस तरह की पॉलिटिकल इंस्टेबिलिटी है, बड़े बड़े नेता जो हैं जो उसमें करप्शन में फंसे हुए हैं, तो इसको देखते जो सारी कुल मिला के पाकिस्तान को लगता है कि पाकिस्तानियों का अपने शहरियों का अटेंशन डाइवर्ट करने के लिए इस तरीके की बात करता है.
And a look at what else is making news across the country nationwide. Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will celebrate Diwali Military personnel at the strategically important Tri-Service Command in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. According to official sources, Sitaraman will travel to Andaman and Nicobar Islands on October 18 and celebrate the festival on October 19. During the visit, the minister is also expected to review operational preparedness of the country's only Tri-Service Command. The Uttar Pradesh government has issued instructions to cancel the registration of government doctors if they are found involved in private practices. Complaints of private practice by government doctors were being received despite strict instructions of the government. License of any nursing home will also be cancelled if any provincial medical service doctor practices in it. Fines will also be imposed on the doctors concerned. The city administration in Gurugram has allowed those residents who have brought Diwali firecrackers in advance to burn them between 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. on October 19th. The administration has also imposed IPC Section 144 in the city and asked the residents to burn the crackers 100 meters away from the private and government hospitals, educational institutions and religious places and courts. Time for another short break. International and sports news on the other side. Stay with us.
Enter the majestic forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan and you'll come across the Jaipur column. A gift to the Viceroy from Savai Madho Singh, the Maharaja of Jaipur, to commemorate the creation of the new capital. The 145-meter high column is crowned with 6 pointed crystal stars on a bronze lotus, and inside the stone shaft runs a steel tube which weighs a little more than 5 tons. The base of the column has text conceived by Lord Irwin and Sir Edwin Lutyens inscribed on it.
The story we thought we knew. The story of magnificence. The story of bloody battles. Of those who ruled and those who left their footprints. The story charting the course of our past. Talking History on Rajya Sabha TV.
Bhul Bhulaiya, a labyrinth of hundreds of narrow stairway passages, is a significant and historical component of what you popularly know as Bara Imambara. Some of these narrow stairways have dead ends, some end at precipitous drops, while others lead to entrance or exit points. Historically, Bhul Bhulaiya was constructed to confuse the enemy intruder, and the narrow lanes of the labyrinth can make anyone feel lost. The structure contains various strategically built hollows in the corridors.
Thanks for being with us. The United States has pulled out of the UN cultural body UNESCO, accusing it of anti-Israel bias. Hours later, the Washington also issued a stern warning to other UN agencies that they will be evaluated through the same lens. The withdrawal will take effect on December 31st, 2018. The United States will remain a full member of UNESCO until then. Following on the US's steps, Israel also said it will withdraw from the cultural and education body. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has instructed the Foreign Ministry to prepare Israel's withdrawal from the organization. Alongside the United States, Israel has said that UNESCO has become the theater of the absurd, and instead of preserving history, it distorts it. Israel has long been at loggerheads with UNESCO, particularly over its decision to admit the Palestinians as members in 2011. In July, the United Nations body declared the old city of Hebron in the occupied West Bank an endangered World Heritage Site, delighting Palestinians and infuriating Israel. UNESCO has reacted, saying it regrets the US decision.
Two main issues prompted our decision. One was mounting arrears, which have been mounting since 2011 when this organization admitted Palestine as a member state. That amount in arrears is essentially unsustainable. Second issue, unfortunately, this venue has become politicized, undermining the work of UNESCO across its mandate. It's become a venue for anti-Israel bias. And unfortunately, we are taking the decision to withdraw from UNESCO at this time.
Well, I express my deep regret. I remember what I said in 2011 already, when the United States lost its voting rights and suspended their payment, that the United States matter for UNESCO and UNESCO matters for the United States. In fact, if you go back into history, we will see not only that United States is a founding member of UNESCO, the whole idea that you can build peace through education, science, culture, communication is basically an American idea.
Not up to me, of course, to react officially to the American decision with respect to UNESCO. What I can say is that UNESCO is about promoting our ideals and values through culture, education, and science. These values and ideals are very much part of France's DNA, but also America's DNA. And this is why it is so important to have our American friends on board. I would add now more than ever, as these values are contested and as we need an America that stays committed to world affairs. So that's.
And on to news about the North American Free Trade Agreement. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau touched down in Mexico City on Thursday for an official visit amidst talks in Washington to renegotiate NAFTA. US President Donald Trump has threatened to scrap the 1994 pact unless changes are made to address issues such as a $64 billion deficit with Mexico. He has also expressed his willingness for a free trade deal with Canada that does not include Mexico should renegotiations fail. Trade is said to be high on the agenda when Trudeau meets President Enrique Peña Nieto. Trump said on Wednesday that tough negotiations were ahead on the NAFTA, but a deal was possible.
I don't think anything changed. We're negotiating a NAFTA deal. It's time after all of these years, and we'll see what happens. It's possible we won't be able to make a deal, and it's possible that we will. We have a great personal relationship, and we have a relationship now as two countries, I think that's as close as ever. But we'll see if we can do the kind of changes that we need. We have to protect our workers, and in all fairness, the Prime Minister wants to protect Canada and his people also. So we'll see what happens with NAFTA. But I've been opposed to NAFTA for a long time in terms of the fairness of NAFTA. I said we'll renegotiate. And, I mean, I think Justin understands this. If we can't make a deal, it'll be terminated, and that'll be fun. They're going to do well, we're going to do well. But maybe that won't be necessary. But it has to be fair to both countries.
My optimism towards NAFTA, towards a renegotiation, isn't based on personality or reading political tea leaves. My optimism is based on the fact that I know how good NAFTA has been for millions of citizens of Canada, of the United States, and indeed for New Mexico.
Now the news from the US, where more than a dozen wildfires raged across Northern California for the 5th straight day on Thursday, with the biggest ones killing at least 31 people. The fires have scorched the state's famous wine country and forced more than 25,000 people to evacuate. About 3,500 homes and businesses have been destroyed by the fires that are burning more than 170,000 acres of land. More than 200 fire engines and firefighting crews are battling to put off the fire. According to the reports, more than 600 people are missing in Sonoma County. More than 100 people are being treated in hospitals for fire-related injuries or health issues, including burns, smoke inhalation, and shortness of breath.
We made some good progress yesterday in areas, and we also had some challenges. We still have fire growth on some of our fire in different directions. We have a threat that's continuing in multiple areas into structures. Those areas, we issued some more mandatory evacuation areas yesterday in the Sonoma County area, and those fires are still causing us problems, and we're trying to address that.
The Red Cross provides as much comfort as we possibly can. We offer them food, shelter, so we set up cots if they're going to stay overnight, blankets. We also worked with the Salvation Army here in Orange County, and they provided a lot of the food. We've also had a great response from the community bringing in donations. We've had restaurants that would bring in food to help feed our people.
Now sports news. India has lost to Ghana in the FIFA Under-17 World Cup played at Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium in New Delhi. The host lost to the visitors 0-4. The defeat has ended India's dream of making it to the knockout stages in their first ever FIFA competition. Earlier, India had lost 2 group matches to USA 0-3 and Colombia by 1-2. Ghana now secured the top position in the group on goal difference and a place in the round of 16 ahead of USA and Colombia. In another game played in Mumbai, Colombia defeated US 3-1 while Mali defeated New Zealand 3-1. In today's matches in Group C, Costa Rica will meet Iran in Goa at 5 p.m, while Guinea will take on Germany at Kochi at 5 p.m. In Group D encounters, Niger will face Brazil in Goa at 8 p.m, while Spain will play against North Korea at Kochi at 8 p.m. And India will take on Australia in the third and the final 3-match series of T20 international match at the Rajiv Gandhi International Stadium in Hyderabad today. The series is currently tied 1-1. Comprehensive winners in the first T20 international match, India would aim to extend the domination, while Australia would be eyeing a change of fortunes. In the second T20 international match played at Baraspara Stadium in Guwahati, the visitors defeated the host by 8 wickets. And that's all we have for you in this edition of Breakfast News. Keep watching Rajya Sabha television.